Here's a detailed update on the latest events shaking the cruise industry, including the Overboard incident aboard Viking Star in the Mediterranean and how Hurricane Melissa is upending Caribbean itineraries, and what it all means if you're about to embark on or monitor a cruise. On Monday, October 27th, during a sailing in the Mediterranean Sea, a crew member aboard the Viking Star, operated by Viking Cruises, went overboard and remains missing, prompting a large-scale search and raising serious questions about onboard safety. The ship was en route from Crete to Palermo, Sicily, when at approximately 11:31 a.m. local time the alarm was raised. According to news reports and statements from the cruise line, the crew member fell overboard from what appears to have been the second deck of the ship. The Viking Star immediately activated its emergency protocols and began search operations in conjunction with the Italian Coast Guard. At the time of the incident, the vessel was carrying approximately 925 guests and 471 crew members. Passengers on board described a visibly shocking scene. The ship slowed, deployed life rings and flares, and circled the location of the incident for several hours while the search was underway. The cruise line expressed sorrow and said it is supporting the family of the missing crew member. While the immediate cause of the overboard incident has not been publicly disclosed, it highlights enduring risks in the cruise sector. According to industry data, from 2009 to 2019 there were 212 inches man overboard incidents reported among cruise line members of the trade association, yet only 48 resulted in successful rescues. Considering the remote environment of the open sea, the delay between falling overboard and rescue operations can be fatal even with swift response. The incident raises questions about training, monitoring, deck area security, crew fatigue or mental health, and how quickly the situation is communicated to passengers. For passengers and planners, this event serves as a cautionary signal. When choosing a cruise line or specific sailing, it's worth asking about the company's protocols for crew and passenger overboard situations, how quickly alarms are triggered, how well deck access is controlled, what training is in place, and how transparent the communication is to guests during emergencies. While this is unsettling, it is also valuable to remind oneself that even large, modern ocean-going cruise ships are still operating in inherently risky environments. The fact that the ship continued its cruise that evening after the search, and that no full cancellation was reported as standard but may feel surprising to some. The line prioritized safety first but also operational continuity. Meanwhile, sweeping across the Caribbean region is Hurricane Melissa, an extremely powerful event with severe implications for cruise itineraries, port infrastructures, and traveler planning. According to multiple sources, the storm rapidly intensified into a Category 5 hurricane with sustained winds estimated at 160 to 165 mph, and according to some reports up to 185 miles per hour, as it moved toward Jamaica, Haiti, and other islands. As of late October, the storm triggered cruise line rerouting and port cancellations across multiple operators, with at least 12 ships known to have adjusted their itineraries between October 24 and 31 in order to avoid the storm's path. The adjustments have been extensive. For example, on October 28 the line Carnival Cruise Line confirmed that 5 of its ships, the Carnival Celebration, Carnival Dream, Carnival Liberty, Carnival Sunrise and Carnival Vista, had to modify itinerary plans due to Melissa. Some specific changes. The Liberty skipped Grand Cayman and Montego Bay. Instead visiting Mahogany Bay, Honduras, and Belize City, Belize, the Sunrise and Vista replaced Caribbean stops with Nassau, Bahamas. The Dream added extra sea days rather than the scheduled Jamaica port call. Similarly, Royal Caribbean International rerouted its Icon of the Seas sailing departing October 25 from an Eastern Caribbean route, St. Martin, St. Thomas, to a Western Caribbean route, Cozumel, Rodan, in order to steer clear of Jamaica. Other operators including Celebrity Cruises, Disney Cruise Line, MSC Cruises and Norwegian Cruise Line also either canceled port calls or swapped them for alternate destinations in Mexico, Belize, Honduras and Cozumel. Crucially, while the itineraries have been altered, to date no major full sailing cancellations have been publicly reported as directly caused by Melissa. The emphasis has been on rerouting rather than outright cancellation. Nevertheless, the impact on travelers is real. For many scheduled port visits in Jamaica, e.g., Falmouth, and other islands, ship visits have been suspended, meaning what passengers expected in terms of shore time and excursions has changed. The reasons are multifold. First, the storm's forecast path and intensity made shipping into some ports unsafe or logistically impractical. Jamaica's tourism authorities reported it would be targeting a December 15 resume full tourism date in some areas after what appears to be historic damage to port infrastructure. Second, port authorities may be closed or capacity reduced due to storm damage assessments, meaning cruise ships cannot berth safely. Third, from a cruise line perspective, the negative optics and liability of sailing into a storm-impacted region encourage preemptive rerouting. For passengers, there are several takeaways. If you have an upcoming Caribbean cruise, even if you're not in the immediate track of the storm, it's wise to monitor communications from your cruise line closely, changes to port calls, days at sea, minor route modifications, and check your travel insurance to understand how itinerary change by cruise line for weather is handled. Also, understand that shore excursions, port authorities, and local vendors may be impacted. A call to Jamaica, for example, may be cancelled not just for safety but because the destination's infrastructure is itself under stress from the storm. If you're mid-cruise or recently boarded, pay attention to ship updates. Some lines are issuing automatic refunds or credits for lost port visits. For example, Royal Caribbean informed booked guests that prepaid shore excursions would be refunded and port tax surplus would be credited when Jamaica calls were removed from the itinerary. Also, don't assume your final arrival timing or home port return will be altered, but stay alert. Sea days may replace ports, and flexible bookings flights, hotels before, after, are wise. Beyond the immediate events, there are broader implications for the cruise industry. The Overboard incident aboard Viking Star is a stark reminder that despite the high-profile luxury of modern cruise vessels, safety incidents can and do happen. It tests the operational readiness of cruise lines, vigilance, crew training, deck monitoring systems, rapid response coordination with coast guards, and post-incident transparency. The industry maintains overboard incident data, but each new case brings fresh pressure, both regulatory via maritime safety authorities and reputational via consumer confidence. Similarly, Hurricane Melissa's impact stresses the sector's exposure to climate-driven risks. Cruise itineraries are built around weather windows, port availability and local tourism infrastructure, but when a major storm with Category 5 strength hits, the ripple effects are substantial. Rerouting, port loss, extended sea days, additional operational cost, brand communication challenges, and potential downstream bookings claims. For ports themselves, reduced cruise calls mean economic impact for local businesses and communities reliant on tourism. For example, Jamaica is now engaging in a resilient tourism recovery coordination committee to help bring cruise traffic back. From a traveler perspective, these two stories underscore a few persistent best practices. Firstly, always treat your cruise as a flexible vacation rather than a rigid schedule. Weather, safety, or operational changes can alter plans at very short notice. Keep pre- and post-cruise travel plans adaptable. Secondly, actively stay in touch with your cruise line's communications. They'll often send updates about itinerary changes, port cancellations, refunds or credits. Thirdly, examine the specifics of your chosen sailing. The route, the season per day of year, hurricane season, Mediterranean season, the line's safety history, and your own risk tolerance. And fourthly, if you're concerned about a particular incident, crew overboard, port closure because of storm damage, ask your travel agent or the cruise line directly about what happened, and what the company has changed in response. To wrap up, the crew member overboard incident aboard Viking Star is a sobering reminder of the inherent risks at sea, and of the human element in cruise operations. Crew training, vigilance, response readiness matter hugely. At the same time, Hurricane Melissa's disruptive path through the Caribbean is a live example of how weather and climate-related extremes are already affecting the cruise industry in real time. If you're planning a cruise, especially in the next few months or in a region prone to storms or operational risk, it pays to stay alert, even excited, but also prepared for the unexpected.